Evening, everybody. Don't really need the mic, I don't think. In Fire Hall, but there you go, using the mic. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. It's a slightly more intimate gathering than some of these launches, but we're going to rock it. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming. Really appreciate it. I am not the MC for tonight's event. We have a Talon staffer, Erin Kirch, who's going to step in and take the MC role, for which I'm very grateful. Her poems and stories and essays have appeared in Alon, the Malahat Review, Art Poetry, Magazine, Event, Quarterly, CV2, Subterranean, Geist, Prism International, all your favorites, and many, many more. She's also a bookseller, done, spoken, just so many things. We're very happy to have her working with us at Talon, helping us with publicity and editorial and all kinds of stuff. So without further ado, Erin Kirch.
Can you folks hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Beautiful. Welcome to the Talonbooks Fall 2023 launch, everybody. I guess I don't have to introduce myself, but I'm Erin. I'm so incredibly excited to be hosting this launch because the Fall 2023 books are killer. They're stellar. They're across the board bangers, and you can't miss them. So, we're going to start off. Our lives in Vancouver take place on the unceded territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh people. And whatever your personal relationship to that space is, I hope it stays in your considerations tonight and in all our time here on this space. Whether this is your territory, whether you are a settler, whatever your relationship is, I hope that stays in your mind. Some other housekeeping things before we absolutely get started with some poetry, with some literature, with some vignettes. There are washrooms, because humans sometimes need washrooms. These washrooms are accessible. These washrooms are universal, and these washrooms are on this floor if you need to find them. They're like that way. Like if you make a U, you'll be led right to them. Okay, I think that's more or less it. Have you all visited Kim from the Paper Hound at the table out there? I love that we're all applauding for her, and she doesn't know, but she deserves it because she is amazing. Go visit her once we're done the readings. It's stellar. Are we ready to get started?
Yes.
Oh my God, immediate actual verbal responses. Yes, love it. Okay, so one more piece of thing is news. One more piece of news. Our first reader of the night, Nikki Reimer, is unfortunately not able to be here due to some unforeseen circumstances. We are super bummed about it, but they have put together a really incredible selection of poems from their book, No Town Called We, which let's give it up for No Town Called We. It's an incredible collection. It's got that Nikki Reimer magic of talking about really heavy things in such a funny way that it makes these topics that could be unapproachable so glorious, so a place you want to spend time in. And if we couldn't have Nikki Reimer here, I am so pleased to say that we get to have Nikki Reimer's friend and the editor of this fantastic book reading these selections of poems. Please give it up for Katrina Strang!
Hey, I'm so sorry Nikki can't be here. Nikki, if you're watching, we love you. I'm going to read a selection that Nikki chose. We wonder if I will ever manage to write a poem about heat death. Sparring kangaroos were dancing. Rain joy, we said. That's fighting, said the scientist. Old photo. Koalas in renal failure, foregoing their fear to lap water from the road, were deemed cute. No, said the scientist, not cute. Those creatures are dying. We'd moved on. Wombats shepherd other critters into their burrows. Stewards of the underbrush. Not quite right, said the scientist. Wombat burrows are enormous. Most likely the wombat was hiding in another chamber. We'd already created a hashtag. Hashtag wombat empathy will save us. I asked the cat what comes next, and he said, either the complete transformation of existing relationships or the heat death of the planet. One of those. My heart's for home, relationships, kangaroos, scientists. No time for settler logic. No atheists in burrows, friends. No one coming to save us. Do you remember when it was 2007 and nothing hurt / everyone we loved yet alive? It's quarantine day, whatever. We've descended into lawless anarchy. Plates have been broken. Some say we deserved it. We want to watch the video of the golden retriever ripping his friend's newspaper to shreds over and over, like bro saying. Our neighbors ring the 7 o'clock healthcare worker appreciation cowbell. We wonder how many voted in the tin pot ideologues. Let's bang pots for nurses, sure, but show me the way to the machine that kills fascists. Good night, Capital. Bed down for winter in the dawn of the new Detroit. Been years since we had a good hospital fire sale. I yawn ferocity on the plane. Are the rents high? Someone asks. We don't know that man, but I call his cat Baby. I drink tea up and down the cafes of Plateau Montréal. Where I'm from, we'd call that mountain a bluff. Don't call me. In Baltimore, a man said, hey, I like your style, I like your hair, baby. In Montreal, we become Madame. In-flight Wi-Fi, the best excuse to be our worst selves. No town called forbearance. What year did anxiety stop being sexy? Do you like my style, baby? Do you like our hair? That winter, lymph glands swell to threaten mutiny. Who's dying to get fired? Donate our pensions to oil, job funding to gas. It's winter again. We're in mourning again. Just tuck me into this nest of pillows and leave we here. We'll either thaw out in the winter or... No town called solidarity. We push forward, we pull through. We carve out enough time to write the words, here in the libertarian post-century, nothing matters if it's not scalable. At breakfast with coffee, I watched steady ice drip from the eaves troughs, gig work delivery drivers stop and go, 14s try and fail to jumpstart their car. On the balcony, the cat takes notes for his next manifesto. Let me be the first to post, thanks, we hate it, on our tombstones. Being good at my job is a sick game we play with myself. June 2022. Pollen covers everything, like a climate change murder scene. Yellow handprint on the hand-me-down Dodge. The cat, dragging his leash around the yard, is no metaphor for self-imposed limitations. I'm trying to get at a definition of responsibility. I am trying to evict the cop in my head. I'm trying to arrest the landlord in my brain. So what? Dear scientists, I'm still sorry for the narrative bent of my recent writings / don't know how to make these layers of trauma into art. I hate narrative! The Anthropocene howls. The fucking moon is full, and yesterday the cat sunk one of his claws full deep to the bone of the scientist's pointer finger. So what? The wound formed a white moon ringed in purple. Here is the home of our poetics of the plaintive. So what? It's a pollen-bitten pandemic dawn tinged with the deep regret of spring. So what? Jesus wept. The other cat pissed all over our shoes twice today. So what? We collected the father-in-law's things from the hospital. 2 pillows, pajamas, his shaving kit. His duffel bag a burden against my hip, my right shoulder seizing from the weight on the sweaty walk home. What is a man's final mass at death? At the end, we are collections of objects to own and throw out and pass/on. So what? The neighbors aren't allowed in the house. No hugging. This antiseptic mourning must not be spoken aloud. So what? His shaving kit, the cat piss, flowers in the garage, the goddamn silver moon. I'm writing this from a windswept prairie town, population 3,780. So what? So what? So what? Regress or be destroyed. It is 1:11 a.m. and we are tweeting about carbs. We have been baking bread and sharing pictures of potatoes. Someone is always talking about yeast. Who also rises? Someone else already claims the irrelevance of bread in 2020 because death cult capitalism must always name activities passé that hit mainstream uprising. The capitalist engine needs us to fear our own obsolescence in the identification of that which is over. Don't love the thing you embraced yesterday. This is how we are kept trapped in an endless consumptive cycle, eternally chasing the new. Marx told us, man. He fucking warned us, bro. Could the same be said for poetry? Where we once had a seat at the table of discourse, we no longer know the terms of reference. This is what is known as the process of elimination. Our poetry elders have begun to die. Was this what we had planned for our one wild and precious life? I don't want this anxiety of fading influence. Don't want this culture that paves over our many genealogies. I want to sit at the table of the elders. I want to set a place for communal discourse. Let me be the socially distant potato you want to sit beside when next we are allowed to break bread. It is 1:11 a.m. and we are mouthing tender creations for tomorrow's feast. Heart hunger made fashion. Touch down in the death space. I celebrate myself. I glutton we. Sleep is not the torture or the brainworms screaming. While Reykjavik burns, I organize we. A cat for every ailment and 2 for grief and rage. I clothe myself. I embalm we. True horror lies in having any kind of body at all. I feed myself. I succor we. Don't be sad about the cultural memory span. It's not for we. When in Claire's home, the doves annoy. When I am gone, we miss their keening. I feed myself. I solace we. I'm sorry. I feel myself. I solace we. Nikki Reimer, everybody.
I mean, damn. And may we all be the potatoes that someone wants to sit beside when next we gather. Katrina Strang, Nikki Reimer, one more time. Folks, we're going to keep these good poetic vibes going. Our next performer is amazing. They are a National Magazine Award-winning writer, an editor, and an illustrator, because why just have one talent when you could have 3 talents? Their book of essays, Like a Boy But Not a Boy, blew the roof off the universe. And in that tradition, their new collection, The berry takes the shape of the bloom, also does that same thing. Oh my God, the way they write about family rules, whether it's being a parent or a child, it's gonna get you. Please, warm round of applause. Give it up for Andrea Bennett!
I like how much that felt like being ushered onto the ice when I played hockey as a child. I just like how I have to live up to your description of the book. Thank you. I'm just going to start reading. I think it'll be self-explanatory. It is loud. Like the mic is loud. All right, it's fine. I'm also hard of hearing, and I'm not used to hearing things so well, and it's actually like I get a lot of myself back. Very self-conscious.
It sounds great from here.
Before blueberries grow, they grow a bloom that looks like a proto-berry. The berry then takes the shape of the bloom that came before it. The berry displaces the bloom that came before it. When people say that mothers and daughters have complicated relationships, what they mean is that the daughter is the blueberry and the mother is the bloom who came before it. My mother bloomed, and then I was a wave or a skateboard or a foraging deer. My mother bloomed, and I did not displace her in the right way. Did I bury? You can say that what you want is to hold a space that isn't fixed. You can say that's what you want, but someone is always there to tell you that the bloom is what comes before the berry. I liked your pull tab style, Katrina. Mine's not as I can't pull them, I might need them later. Each week, the embryo I've been carrying is likened to food. Sesame seed, chickpea, kidney bean. Relatable, like the cone. There is no such thing as being a little bit pregnant. Only this is what it's felt like. 2 pink lines with a promise that could fade, like wax crayon preventing dye on the shell of an Easter egg. I'm pregnant, I tell my practical friend. I'm pregnant, I tell my friend who will have 2 under 2, but I might not stay that way. The place where I get my hair cut is chock-a-block with young trans parents. It's not time to worry yet about how I'll ask not to be called mom. First, Madame has appointments, ultrasounds, preventative health care for the at-risk postpartum period. No energy left over to say, I'm not her. I also was in Montreal, like Nikki's poem, with the Madame. It wasn't an affectation I added to it. I receive a picture of blooms from a family member in the desert. I don't always remember who I've been family to. I don't always know what I've felt. Tomorrow I will remember, and the force of remembering will make me forget again. I am rich like pound cake with family. I am an airy crumb where the family used to go. That same family member, who is my partner's uncle, sent me another picture of blooms from the desert just a few days ago. I'm sending him my lentil loaf recipe in response. I think the blooms are better. In the fall, I do not know how to ask for what I want because I do not know what I want. The baby measuring produce has diverged paths. My belly has grown too big for biking. I am standing on the ledge of a cataract of tears that will not come. I say, I can't do this. I feel the baby kick, punch. The cat lets me hug her. Too far and too soon. What if it's always like this? A tearless cataract is just a cliff. A cabbage could be big or small. No one can think about a coconut without seeing it shatter. That poem is about Sinclair, my child, who did come into the world, in case she's fine. I just had a really intense antenatal depression. Oh boy, so there are a lot of poems about it. As common as Bladderwrack and not quite attractive enough to be an underdog in the imaginary autobiography of my own life. Every time I enter the ocean, through its eelgrass, between its moon jellies, I take a little bit home with me. It is fine to be common. It is a gift to enter the ocean on the same patch of intertidal sand, to take in its changes and constancy, its cycles, its gossip, its anger, its gripes. I have a towel and a bathing suit in the lobby. I swam right before I came here. It's been my, this book coming out after the pandemic is the first time I've actually read in like a long, long time. And so I started a new tradition, which is swimming before or after I read, so that I can deal with the dread of stage fright and have something to look forward to or ground me before I come up here. Let's see. I'll just read a couple more. I want to be the fig and the wasp, a good tender leaf, a worker. I listen for the 2 test kernels to pop in the pot. My hearing is a peal of bells that rings and rings. I'm sure the kernels pop and pop, but there they are, knees tight to their chests. A bee goes by outside and Sinclair tries to name it. She takes her fingers out of her mouth and points. She can be whatever she wants. I will buy her earplugs. I want everyone to live forever. I want to give and to take, and maybe that's too much to want. I'll read this last one because it's a long one about my hometown, which I went to read in, which was weird. A girl's pants come alive with static on the plastic slide. Across the street, someone has driven off the road, onto the sidewalk, halfway through a boxwood hedge. Down the street, the arena, it stands ringing a small patch of ice. Down another street, my friend's favorite breakfast place. Across from there, my doctor's office. My doctor had 6 kids, and the youngest had childhood depression too, she said, pointing at a family picture taken at Sears. Nearby was our middle school, which later became loft apartments. Looming over it, train tracks and a rocky point we called the Peak, as if the world had only one. We were picking the static girl up from camp, my friend and I. It was the year someone took the L off community pool. Maybe a year my friend, I knew that people looked at that. Well, I found out later. Maybe a year my friend was groped in passing, or maybe a year I was, or both. In middle school, my best friend's cousin reduced the French teacher to tears, and now someone touches their hands to the refurbished wood on their windowsill. People visited our town on the weekends because there was a natural food store whose name were called Biblical Penty. Archways into the alley where the horses used to be kept. A bookseller who rescued orphaned raccoons. Waterfalls off this road and that. Down that street, I got called one name for the wrong gender and then another in a frosty burst at my feet. Another time I was still the wrong gender, but a man slowed his car down and told me all the things he'd do to make my wrong body his. A neighbor said, "Hop in," but I wanted to walk. The neighbor said, "I won't bite." My friend and I were picking up the static girl from camp, and maybe it was a day where nothing went wrong, and we ran through a sprinkler and spooned melon from its skin, walked her dog, got only into a safe kind of trouble. Thanks.
Andrea, was that line, "I can't always remember who I've been family to"? Was that the line? That's amazing. Okay, I love it. Also, did we ever find out who took the L off the sign?
Yeah, but I can't tell you.
Certainly.
But I know the statute of limitations.
Fun fact, I don't think we have them here. But good looking out. Folks, are we good to keep rolling into our next performer? Okay, because I am so incredibly excited to introduce our next performer. This is a debut book. Yes. And it is, so you're going, this is a debut book? As you read it, you're going, it's so stellar. I want to say so much, but I don't want to spoil anything for you. Okay, so our next reader, we have Samantha Knock coming to the stage. Samantha Knock is a Cree Métis writer from Treaty 8 territory in the Peace region of Northeast British Columbia. And she's launching her debut book. Her debut book, A Family of Dreamers, all the way to the stage for Sam! No!
long walk. Tansi Sam Nitsika-san Dawson Creek Otsinia Magamafa Girawak Otsinianin Kananaska Bintanawa Musqueamaski Squamishaski Egwa Tutaski Kananaska Bintanawa Kakiao. So hi, my name is Sam. I grew up in Treaty 8 territory in Northeast BC in the BC Peace region. If anyone's familiar with that area. But my family comes from Alacross or Sigitawak in Northwest Saskatchewan. And I have been living on unceded Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh territories now for 13 years, which is wild, and I'm very grateful to be here. I was visiting everyone's favorite archive of pictures, Facebook, the other day, and I saw one of those like Vancouver from the past photos, and it was a picture of the Granville Strip, and it was just covered with these old red cedar trees, and it was just full of them. And coming here today, I was thinking about that, about how so much had to end for us to be here, and there's so many new beginnings, and it just really grounded me in just thinking about that all, and the uncomfortableness of it as well. How's everyone doing? You could hear a pin drop in here. Is everyone breathing? Everyone good? Okay. I am going to start with a poem that's not mine, which is kind of funny for, launching one of your debut book of poetry. But I want to share a poem from Rita Bouvier's book, Papiyetuk. Rita Bouvier is a Métis poet from Alacross, and I've been in love with her poetry for a long time, and I was asking my mom about her because Bouvier is one of our family names. And I was like, Mom, do you know who Rita Bouvier is? And she's like, that's my cousin. And I was like, so everyone needs to stop right now. And I borrow a couple lines from her poem, I Say I Am, in the beginning of my book, because I think it just centers that. And one thing I really am thinking about going through this whole process of launching a book, which feels surreal. I still don't know how to interact with it really. It's kind of just like, hey, that my work and I wouldn't be here without a wonderful constellation of people who have influenced me, guided me, supported me, and it's just very, I don't know, nice to think about being in a constellation of people. But yeah, so I want to open with a poem from Rita Bouvier. I Say I Am. It's also funny to read about someone else's family and you're like, hey, that's my family. My grandfather is flashing brilliance against a dark sky. My grandmother is the calm forgiving after the storm. My aunt is a birch basket, she catches all. My grandfather says I am an angel sent by St. Peter to guide him when he loses his way. My grandmother says I am I Gimotat Sit, the one who lives under hiding secrets. My auntie says I am a daughter for all. I say I am all these things and much more. All right. I've been noticing this every time I read that for my job, I facilitate, and I have to fight the urge to facilitate the audience. So please know that's what I'm doing right now. I also think some of my family is watching the live stream, and they haven't got their copies of my book in the mail yet, because I've been really bad at sending them out, because I hate going to the post office. And one thing that I'm like stressing about sending this book to my family is that I'm like, look, you're gonna read things, okay? These poems are from my 20s. I was a shit show in my 20s. Who wasn't? Right? Come on, everybody. Who wasn't? Thank you. Yeah, hey, Dad. It's all good. I don't really leave the house now anymore. No, it's okay, I like it. I do it by choice. This first poem I'm going to read from my book, A Family of Dreamers, is called Letting Go. The act of letting go comes in 3 parts with an epilogue and a prologue. The prologue is simple and not simple at all. The prologue is stories that aren't my stories to tell. It's a half-breed baby girl born during Kisi Pisim, the cold moon. My dad tells me my first words were, "What's that?" Part 1 is an act of seeing and unseeing the same thing over and over. Over and over, I remember images of northern prairie fields of canola driving from Dawson to Poos. Remember teen years and late nights, remember sneaking out to parties, remember smoking my first cigarette, mouth moving to hand instead of hand moving to mouth. Over and over, mixed with memories of grandma showing me Johnny jump-ups in her yard, small, purple, and stubborn. Over and over, remember pulling chickweed from her flower beds. Over and over, remember how it felt to dip my small child hands in red Peace Country clay. Over and over, remember Grandpa skinning marten from the trap line. Over and over, making the promise that I would learn to set snares. Grief, like guilt, it comes over and over. Part 2 is a never-ending movie with jump cuts, the optics of me wearing my dad's ties and shirts in middle school, short black hair and eyeliner to the top of my cheeks, 1 foot in the river and 1 foot on the road. It's going to Cookham's to sit beside her on her couch as she watches The Young and the Restless, to listen to her, my auntie, and my mom talk about that damn Victor. It's riding horses while dreaming of what it would be like to steal that horse and run away. It's watching him put snooze in his lip and remembering how much I hate him. It's listening to Dreams by Fleetwood Mac on a cassette on a small yellow Walkman. I apologize to horses before I know I'm leaving that summer. Fleet is the first to know of my plans. It's feeling the grass tickle me as I sit and wonder what it's all going to be like. It's feeling 13 and 45 at the same time, the scene playing out from 2 different viewpoints, varying only slightly. A change comes in part 3. Working hard in high school because I'm a cliche of wanting to leave my small town. It's following in my big brother's footsteps. It's learning to leave my own. It comes with trading canola for coastal waters, leaving summer thunderstorms and driving down country roads in my Ford Ranger. It's saying goodbye to the lands that raised me. It's knowing that when I left at 13, he said you can never come back, he was wrong. It's knowing he's right. Sometimes change comes all at once, sometimes so slowly it feels like it's not happening at all. It's being a small fish in a big pond, an imposter syndrome in every university class. It's finding comfort in the faces of the Indians I meet in those classes. They remind me of home and The Young and the Restless and that damn Victor. There's an everlasting epilogue. It's the 3 women that raised me coming together to make the sick one tea. It's being 1,000 miles away, hoping tea is the cure. It's feeling so small next to cedar. The ending is making family out of more than blood, making friends out of lovers and lovers out of friends. It's wondering if I'll ever lose this feeling in the pit of my stomach. It's the time I fell into the Moberly and thought I was drowning. My body took over to swim us back to shore. It's looking back, exhausted and panting, to see the ghost of myself sinking to the bottom of the lake. All right. I never really read that long one. That was fun. All right. I experienced this last week when I was reading. I didn't pre-pick my poems, and now I pre-picked them, and I'm like, do I want to do that? Sweating. Why didn't I wear a blazer?
It's so cute.
Thank you. I feel like a business lady. Or that I'm in a startup, and I'm about to sell you shares in my tech company. Meet me outside. I have a really cool investment opportunity. This one's called On the Farm. On the farm, I am free. Crabgrass brushes against my knuckles, cold pond water runs through my fingers. A make-believe world between spruce trees. This is where I begin again and again and again. Tell me a story, let's play Pictionary, let's drink 1 more cup of coffee. I would give everything for just 1 more cup of coffee with you. Yeah. feel like I'm rattling these off like an auctioneer. I will sell you a cow. I'm from the country, I can find you one. Grandpa on the farm. I have no idea if my grandpa's watching this. This is like Big Brother, but it's my grandpa. Grandpa's hands are rough from farm work, fingers calloused from making truck springs all day. He runs his bent fingers over the back of his old bay saddle horse and says, "One summer we'll go riding." I promised him I will, and maybe it won't happen, but the promise of a promise is enough for the both of us. We walk through the bush, spending most of our time in silence, teaching me that sometimes conversations aren't about talking. He points out where young bull moose scratch the velvet off their antlers, tells me how to find my way home if I'm ever lost in the woods, tells me what berries to eat. He says that nightshade is poisonous. Every night after dinner, Grandpa gets up from the table, puts on his cowboy hat and plaid jacket, slips on his boots without saying a word, and walks out the door. He comes back to watch Jeopardy and answers every question right, drinks his last cup of coffee, catches the news, and goes to bed. When I was a kid, I took it upon myself to raise tadpoles in the little pond out the front of my grandparents' house. It's Sam's pond. One hot summer, the pond dried up and the tadpoles were drying up too. Bucket by bucket, we carried them to his rain barrel. My dad and him knew they weren't going to make it, and between the tears, I did too. But he helped me carry dead tadpoles to fresh water anyway. So, if everyone could go around the room and tell me what your internal battery is at. Right, I just have a couple more to share with you. This one's called Standards. I'm sick of writing poems about my body for you, hoping that if I compare my breasts to rolling hills and my hips to curvy rivers, you will see in me the land I come from. I've lost my way trying to find a place inside beautiful for you. I weave together lines of poetry so I can wrap myself in your existence, but the spirit held in the soft body of my homeland, and the soft homeland of my body speaks to me in dreams. McGirl, you're the lake and the shore and the sunlight on a quiet afternoon. You are part of a whole sent here to be delicately human. All right, this is my last one. Cool. This one is called Where the Sun Touches My Body, and it has a little intro from Dallas Hunt's book, Creeland. If you haven't read Dallas's book, highly recommend running to your nearest bookstore and buying it. And it says, I dream that the sun is my fat-bodied kid. As the sun meets the horizon at the break of dawn, I wonder if he notices the moment before he touches the land. The juncture between two moments makes forgetting an act of remembering. What do you call dreams that feel like memories? I long to be longed for, or at least told that I am. The space between dream and reality is a lonely buffer zone, yet I exist there persistently. My dream world forms in the middle of my waking day. While there, I turn sternums into gardens to grow all my plants, uproot my favorite parts to see if there are bits of me growing in the soil, like lifting up rocks to uncover crabs on the beach, like disturbing a house to find a home. I exist in the moment between the sun's decision to set and his goodbye. Thank you all so much.
So we're all obsessed now, right? Oh my God, so that poem, Grandpa on the Farm, that ends with your family helping to bring the tadpoles. There's also a poem in this book that is similarly a banger called Grandma on the Farm. It's also gonna rock your world. You gotta read through it. It's stellar. Folks, we have one more reader tonight. We got one more stellar, amazing reader who says genre, whose genre? I do every genre, and I do it all so well. Folks, our last reader of the night is so funny, is so talented, and has really addressed an issue I have in literature, which is that there is a real dearth of cows in literature. And Marianne Ferrand said, I'm here to remedy this. I'm here to remedy this and so much more. So this work, Jigsaw, written in these like little nonfiction micro pieces, they're so stellar, they're so sumptuous. they're philosophical, they're funny. You're going to hear them right now. So one more time this evening, give it up for Marion Ferrand!
You're right, it's a long way. It's kind of like walking the plank. Well, I'm really glad to be here tonight, and I want to thank Kevin and the talent team for publishing Jigsaw. I really want to thank Katrina, and it is Katrina. All these months I thought it was Catriona. So sorry. For the editing, and Andrea has wonderful line drawings in this book. So grateful that they were able to do this, so thank you. And I also want to shout out to Carl Siegler, who edited the first draft of the book and really helped set me on my way with this. So, Jigsaw. Halfway through the pandemic, friends lent me 2 jigsaw puzzles, which I enjoyed. And they piqued my interest. And I wondered, well, what is it about jigsaw puzzles? So I did a little bit of preliminary research. And what I found was, in 2019, $687 billion was the worldwide value of jigsaw sales globally. 687 billion. And of that same year, 21 billion were sold. And even more startling, in the United States, in North America, in any given minute, 7 jigsaw puzzles are sold. Can you imagine? Well, I couldn't. So I'm going to read 3 pieces from the beginning of the book. And I don't know, this is a cue for Spencer. Well, it may not be. Regular jigsaw puzzle pieces. Jigsaw puzzle pieces with heads, arms, legs, and indented sides belong to a class of common shapes called little chaps, a term coined by Georges Perec in his book, Life, a User's Manual. There is something innocent and merry about little chaps. There it is. About little chaps. You search them out in the heap of pieces, line them up side by side like a daisy chain, and experience great delight when you add another piece to the chain. Alternate meanings of little chaps. Little boys, urchins, penises. Note the lower space in the little chap where the penis should go. Not to worry, before long it arrives in the form of the double cross piece, also dubbed by Perec the patriarchal piece, the most common of jigsaw pieces. Other puzzle pieces have names as well. They are, Perec notes, part of the standardized model of puzzle pieces, which sounds like something from Aldous Huxley's Brave New World with its 5 types of engineered human beings, alpha, beta, and so on. Likening your personality to the shape of a puzzle piece could be a fun pastime. Are you an edge type? A double wing? Regular? Irregular? There is bound to be an online game about this. Of the standardized model group, I'm fond of the piece called Double Ears. My heart goes out to it. It's a bit of a misfit. Odd-looking perhaps, misunderstood, excuse me, but enduring with those double ears. It hears twice as much as anyone else. It knows exactly where we go when we're transported by music. Double Ears holds the secret, even if the rest of us haven't got a clue. Puzzles for brains. This is a picture of the jigsaw puzzle my husband Terry and I are currently working on. 4 ducks and a swan. The cardboard pieces are heaped on the old blue card table. One of the puzzle's purposes is to aid us in passing time during these long winter evenings. Ordinarily, we'd be passing time by watching police procedurals on BritBox. We like the detective chief inspectors who have interesting flaws: OCD, politically incorrect behavior, addiction to pain pills. Many are broody and loveless. Four Ducks and a Swan has an important purpose which has to do with our brains. We've been advised that watching police procedurals every night is bad for them because police procedurals weaken our brains, leaving them flat, dull, and devoid of imaginative content. Jigsaw puzzles eradicate this problem because they enhance the brain's function. Assembling and fitting the pieces together is a form of carpentry, says writer and jigsaw historian Margaret Drabble. Using the glue of jigsaws, we are reframing our brains. We would rather find a body in a ditch and piece together the mystery of how it got there, but never mind. For now, it is drabble, 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 4 ducks and a swan on a pond. So much depends upon the sawing and hammering in our desiccated brains. Notes on the biscuit puzzle. A jigsaw puzzle awaiting my attention has the image of a stomach full of intact biscuits as the picture on the box. The entire digestive tract is shown. I hesitate beginning. I make notes. A biscuit is a thin, flat, edible disc typically associated with the British. It is as stiff as an upper lip. You must suck on it to extract any flavor. Also described as flat, beige, round, or square, a biscuit is first baked and then left to dry out and harden, sometimes for years. A cookie, on the other hand, is a biscuit that's become bloated, soft, though sometimes crunchy, as if it has lost control of its biscuit self and is now an embarrassment to its cousins. Mostly what we eat in Canada are cookies. Because of this, we are frequently seen as a somewhat spineless, though harmless people. Biscuit is also the name of a flat piece of wood used to join 2 planks together. This is a technical description of the biscuit I was given as a child at my friend Rhonda's house. As a treat, her mother would serve us milk that she dyed blue using food coloring. Early on, you learn unsettling things about people. The crux of the biscuit, said Frank Zappa, is, if it entertains you, fine. If it doesn't, then blow it out your ass. Even a 7-year-old can understand this sentiment. While there are hundreds of different kinds of cookies, a date square is a filled cookie, there are fewer versions of the standard British biscuit. A shortbread, perhaps, an oatcake. Both, though, retain the signature quality of having to suck on them to retrieve flavor, though usually there is no flavor. Teething biscuits offered to babies may count as a variation on the standard biscuit, but their value resides more in placating tears than in giving pleasure. Not everyone will agree with this statement. Biscuit was the nom de plume of the no-fun teenage counselor at the United Church girls' camp I attended for a week in early summer when I was 10 years old. It rained for a week. Biscuit's rival at the camp was the lively Cookie in the hut next to ours. We could hear her and her charges laughing like crazy after lights out, playing games, singing songs, while Biscuit lay on her cot reading romance novels by flashlight and yelling, "Just go to sleep, for Christ's sake." The girls in our hut became lesser beings because of Biscuit. There is a paint color called Biscuit that you can choose for your living room walls. The palette ranges from light beige to gray, according to the decorating tip website Casa Amina, biscuit color is a very in vogue color lately, not only in terms of furniture, but also in clothing and in artistic trends in general. I'm supposing by artistic trends in general, what's meant is artwork that's innocuous. In the UK, a popular biscuit, according to the website Joe, a news and entertainment site, is a lotus biscoff, a name surely derived from the food designer's yoga practice. The worst British biscuit is a Garibaldi, according to Joe, a biscuit that contains currants. Joe's assessment is one I agree with. Currants have no place in society, let alone in our biscuits. Joe's very best biscuit is Fox's Chocolatey. The rating is accompanied by a fervid comment. Oh, absolutely, Jesus, suffering Christ, yes. Cookie was a favorite name for cats and dogs when I was growing up. Now everyone is calling their dogs Coco, which is something you can dunk a biscuit into, but never a cookie, because a cookie true to form will disintegrate. There are not a lot of biscuit crumbs left in a tin when it's emptied. Cookies, on the other hand, turn into crumbs at a shocking rate. The only good thing that can be said about biscuits is that they don't crumble. It's a stark thought, said British writer Stephen Hall, that when we die, most of us will leave behind uneaten biscuits. I spent a lot of time at camp in the nurses' stations pretending to be sick. I didn't like biscuit or being pushed in the lake during free swim or participating in group games like Capture the Flag because of the screaming. I did attend a session called Future Nurses, though. It was there I learned how to make up a hospital bed, should I ever want to. The procedure involves folding a cover sheet in a precise way. The aim is to imprison the bedridden. The camp nurse was soothing Mrs. Arnold. She gave me a steady supply of Scotch mints while I was under her care. Scotch mints, unlike biscuits, are a pleasure to suck. Biscotti are not a pleasure to suck. These are the elongated biscuits of Italian origin, coated with chocolate in North America to make them palatable. A North American biscotti is a cookie in hiding because once wet, it will partially dissolve. But even though it is softened by dunking, you must still suck on it vigorously to retrieve any taste. As for eating biscotti dry, what is required is gnawing. Biscotti were used by Christopher Columbus on the ocean voyage to invade America. He needed a food source for his crew that could resist moisture and mold. It is currently chic to be seen in a cafe dunking a mold-free biscotti into an Americano while looking at your phone. This represents the high point of biscuit life in North America. Sci-fi writer Neil Gaiman didn't appear to express any love for cookies when he wrote in American Gods, "The house smelled musty and damp and a little sweet, as if it were haunted by the ghosts of long-dead cookies." For the record, long-dead cookies do not become ghosts, they become petrified crumbs. Leave a cookie tin unopened for several years and you will discover the truth of this statement. Crumbs remain on the crumpled wax paper or gathered like mouse droppings in the tin's rusty corners. Abandoned biscuits do not decompose, ever. They are waiting for your heirs to throw them out after your demise. The nurses' station was a separate hut and the only one in the entire camp that had heat. It was a peaceful place. The bed had a plaid cover, a side table, and 2 pillows. When I wasn't reading Little Lulu or Archie comics, I would stretch out and listen to the driving rain on the roof. On the day before coming home, I attended a mandatory craft session in which we had to make a biblical sentence out of alphabet macaroni, then glue it onto a round piece of shellacked wood. Our efforts were to be gifts for our parents when we returned home. I chose the shortest sentence on the list we were given. God is love. My project looked like a decorated biscuit. My father, an unbeliever as he called himself, looked aghast when I gave it to him. What had he done by sending me to a church camp? Nothing other than providing me with a lifelong hatred of crafts. Biscuits are a form of roughage, possibly useful for moving the bowels, as demonstrated in the painting below, behind me, which is also the puzzle I have been making notes about. It has 500 pieces and a name, Biscuit Basket, which almost certainly refers to the content of the stomach. Notice the biscuits are whole, a testimony to the fact that not even gastric juices can dissolve them. I received the puzzle as a Christmas gift. It is now late spring and it is still in its box. Where to begin? With the sausage-colored intestines, the esophagus, the pretty but odd pink and blue background. And I wonder, was Biscuit Basket originally meant to represent a vase on a table, and somehow the image got away from the artist? I have consulted my notes in order to reach a decision. Will completing this jigsaw puzzle of the human digestive tract featuring undigested biscuits add anything to my life? The answer continues to elude me. Thank you for listening.
You heard it here first. Currents have no place in society. Not any. This book is so amazing, whether it's cows, puzzles, roads, everything you do is so funny. I love it so much. Folks, thank you for attending. Let's give one more round of applause to all of our readers and writers for Katrina Stray, Nikki Reimer, Andrea Bennett, Sam Lott, and Marion Malone. Don't forget to go pick up these books and have a great night.